Ready? Ublumi. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tunnganarniq Show. I am your host. My name is Margaret Noksana. We are broadcasting live out of the Inuvialuit Communication Society located here in Inuvik. On today's episode, we had a little bit of a short notice, but we have our guest, Elder Albert Elias, who has agreed to come on in a couple of hours notice. Yes, to do a storytelling episode. And on today's episode we did have you, and we asked your wife Shirley to join us, but unfortunately some stuff came up and she wasn't able to make it. So, but we're thankful that you're here and you're able to have another storytelling episode with us. So how are you?
Well, I'm just fine today.
Enjoying the heat?
Enjoying the heat, yeah.
So, every single episode I like to start out and ask our guests to introduce themselves and tell us who they are and where they're from. And if you could just go ahead and do that.
Yeah. My name is Albert Elias. I was born in Aklavik 1942, but I was, my parents were from the coast, like Tunnganarniq area. That's where I was raised up. As a child, traveled a lot with because my dad had a schooner, so during summer we'd travel quite a lot to Aklavik and along the coast. Yeah.
Who are your parents?
Well, my parents are Angus and Mary Elias.
Mm-hmm. And they lived on the coast, like,
Yes.
yeah, just kind of all over.
Yeah.
Towards
they traveled all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, today we were going to do some storytelling, and you've picked a story for us that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I thought about maybe talk a little bit about the big ships and schooners and whaleboats and smaller crafts that I saw when I was a kid growing up in Tunnganarniq. That's I never forget those. Yeah. Anyway, the most of the schooners and whaleboats and dinghies, as we call them, the smaller ones would use oars, and whaleboats. I think they were used by the whalers long ago. Anyway, they came in the late 1800 to early 2000 to 1900s. Late 1800s to early 1900s. They were brought in by big ships from San Francisco on the west coast of the States. So, and trading companies also came from that way. So, and their destination mostly was in Herschel Island. That's where the big hub of the north was. Herschel Island. Yeah, and so anyway, in Tunnganarniq, when I was a child, I seen lots of these big ships, and they were quite impressive to me, and huge. All were wooden ships. Yeah, solidly built, and and Tunnganarniq was our main port, for trading. Yes, seaport.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, Tuck is like, Tunnganarniq is like, there's a point. Where did they dock? Because it's not a very big town.
Tunnganarniq has it's a real good harbor, and it has two. Like there's an island in there, that the big island there.
Yeah, Tuck Island.
And
yeah.
then there's two ways to get in.
Mhm.
The big ships came in on the other side, the island on the east side,
Mhm. Like around.
where there's a lot of deep water
Oh, okay.
for the big ships to come in. So
Mhm.
yeah, and the small schooners and whaleboats use the west side, that point there,
Mhm.
which is now disappearing.
It's slowly eroding. Yeah. So that's where they all. There
Yeah.
must have been a lot of boats and schooners.
Yeah, there's yeah, when we first got there, I remember coming back from Banks Island with my dad's schooner. It must have been July and maybe August. There was already quite a few of the whaleboats
Mhm.
and and everybody just about had owned a dinghy. So we were oaring. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it was during summer, and yeah, it was really exciting to see the big ships
Mhm.
come in. This
Mhm.
is deep enough to go in, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, to the harbor. Yeah, and they're loud engines, some of them. There was one that's called Fort Hearn
Mhm.
Hudson Bay Freighter.
Yeah.
It was about 200 feet long, that one. It was quite big. Yeah, and that was built in New Brunswick, somewhere around there. And then when it
Mhm.
was built down there, they traveled down by Panama Canal and then traveled up north by the Pacific.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was around 1940s. Yeah,
Mhm.
that one. But the earlier ships came way before that, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
1940s, so like 60,
yeah,
maybe 60 years before that.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So the Hudson's Bay Company, they really started, the American traders, the Canada-Alaska Trading Company, I remember they started their post in Herschel Island first,
Mhm.
and they also built quite a lot of trading posts along the coast. I think it was included, and
Mhm.
up to Victoria Island and along the mainland coast.
Mhm.
Trading posts with their trade a lot, Canada-Alaska Trading.
Yeah.
So, and then the Hudson's Bay came along and they were competing,
Mhm.
and eventually Hudson's Bay bought that company out. So,
Mhm.
and that's why the Hudson's Bay Company,
Yeah.
yeah, they did that. And I know there are some of their ships. I think they all bought them too from the Canada-Alaska Trading Company.
Yeah.
Might have, yeah, and I remember the names of them. There was a name, the big ships there that I saw when I was a kid. There was Margaret A. It was called Margaret A. Quite a big wooden ship.
Yeah.
It got stranded across towards Water Creek area there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, some kind of problem it had. And it got beached up in the beach and then faded away after that. Over
I
the
wonder,
years.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
They must have took it down.
something I'm not sure
Mhm.
really happened to
Mhm.
the ship. But anyway, there was one called Canculum and Nedelik and Netchilik. And I think that's about the ones I remember.
Mhm.
Netchilik was a kind of funny looking boat. It's built made out of steel, huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was black colors
Mhm.
and anyway, they did their business out of the Hudson's Bay Company.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, we saw the schooners were coming in. Also, they were over there. Innivalu were buying schooners,
Mhm.
from the companies.
Yeah.
And White Fox trapping was a big industry in the early 1900s.
Mhm.
fur price was really high, so
Yeah.
so many girls could afford to buy them. Yeah.
It's very typical when you go to someone's house and you look at old pictures,
Yeah.
you'll see white foxes
Yes,
all
yeah,
lined up
yeah,
on
yeah.
wood, just hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I never seen whaling ships myself because it was before my time.
Yeah.
But my grandparents used to talk about the whaling ships that were at Herschel Island, or that was a good harbor there.
Do you know what kind of whales they were getting? I don't even know.
They were getting the bowhead whales.
The bowhead
Yeah,
whales? Okay,
yeah.
they wanted
Yeah.
the baleen and everything.
It's not a very good story.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah. Yeah. So the schooners, after the big the big trading boat ships I was talking about, they eventually faded away, phased out, outdated, and the schooners kind of took over, I think, and there was no airplanes them years, and I think when the airplanes started coming in, then transportation started to change.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But they were very busy too, those schooners. For many years they traveled all over to good hunting and trapping areas.
Did you travel on the schooners
Yeah,
too?
I traveled lots of times on schooners, so
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of good memories and sometimes kind of scary memories. It's a big ocean out there.
I was just thinking that, how do you cross with nothing?
Yeah, and I tell you, the men were, the Inuvialuit, I always think were real good seamen.
Yeah.
They can't read in English or anything.
Yeah.
And the only instruments in the schooners were the barometer and the compass.
So they knew how to get to the islands just with a
they
barometer and a
They
compass.
have to use their traditional knowledge and all that know-how.
Can you imagine?
Weather to forecast weather.
Yeah, that takes a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were just natural seamen. Yeah. So that was important for that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so in general, that's basically how they came about, And they were used for not only trapping and moving. Some years we never go to Banks Island. That's where the big trapping country was, But and also on the eastern side, where Victoria Island, Holman Island area, side, in the east. Far east, Joe Haven and all that. All the trading posts were headed that way.
Yeah.
Only one in life was Hudson's Bay Company. No, it's Northern Store.
I was just gonna say, I remember when I don't know if I'm remembering this from hearing it or if I'm remembering this from memory, but I remember Northern being the bay. But I think I remember my parents telling me that used to be the bay. Yeah. I think.
From Hudson's Bay Company to the bay and then Northern Stores. Northmart now here.
That's a really smart company too, because it's still around today. Yeah. Not here in the north, but in the south.
Yeah. So, and those whale boats came in real handy for local Inuvialuit all over along the coast on the Clavic, to use them for whaling and moving around the country, the delta.
Back then, people had a lot of big families too.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of grouped together and helped each other.
And then there was a company in Edmonton, I forget what it's called. It was a company that built schooners, but they were not as sturdy and heavy as the ones that were built in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
So they were not really, they were more better in the Delta where you travel by the river, because they're the way they built were with thinner wood. I think.
Yeah.
I remember my grandfather, Bob Cochran. He had one.
Yeah.
Called Bonnie Bell.
Bonnie Bell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I remember lots of names. There was one called Only Way. They like that.
Only Way. Yeah.
There's a lot of it. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 150 all told, maybe give or take, schooners.
Different schooners that were up here in the north.
And they had, they had many owners. They changed hands quite a bit. People making deals.
Yeah.
I know my dad got his 45-foot schooner from Canalaska Trading Company, that from Holman area.
Yeah.
So
the schooners had like the top deck, and they had underneath.
Yeah, they were waterproof. They had a top deck and pilot house and mast, one mast, and sometimes some of them had two masts. And they all had sails in case you need to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was real good, and they had these heavy-duty engines that were a lot of power in them. Didn't go very fast,
but they could get you across the ocean.
And then each one of them they had to, in the winter time, before winter, you had to pull them up on a shore. So I think each of the schooners had a winch, a handheld winch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To pull themselves up.
Yeah, and you mount that on the beach, and line, put the anchors on the land. They dig a big hole, not a hole, but long, maybe 8 feet, 6 or 8 feet long. They dig in the ground, and put a big timber log, called a dead man. Anyway, and then there's cable, cable, and from there they winch it up.
That sounds like a lot of work.
A lot of work, boy. I tell you, them men can work together, help each other and work.
All good to, yeah. Reminds me of Sax Harbor when they get a whale. The whole town goes down to help cut it up because it's a small community.
People really work together, those days, because there was no cars or skidoos, nothing. It just the human manpower. And, the oars and
that
sails.
sounds like a lot of work.
But it was, people got used to that, you adjust to it, and it's good. I experienced that as a child. I seen kind of the last few years of the schooner era.
Yeah.
So it was exciting for me.
Yeah. It's good that you were able to experience that and then share those stories. Yeah.
And what else about schooners? So and then after trapping all winter up in Banks Island or wherever, we'd come across to the mainland in maybe July, whenever the ice drift away.
Yeah.
So we all came to the mainland and landed in Tunnganarniq. And then from there we go to Klavik, where there's more business, I think, and then maybe the fur price was better there. He used to deal with the trading post there.
That was a hub too, hey?
Yeah,
Before
really it was.
Inuvik was.
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they would supply themselves from the trading companies and Hudson's Bay Company
Mm-hmm.
with food and supplies and everything they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And they used their white foxes.
Yeah.
So it's their money.
Mm-hmm. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they caught lots of foxes, people in years.
Yeah.
And the prices were good, and the money was
Mm-hmm.
strong too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I traveled with my dad's schooner. It was so amazing. It's travel instead of in the ocean, it's a lot different than you go in a river. It's different.
Yeah.
It's first time see trees. I thought they were people first.
Oh, from a distance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, they would travel. It take about 2 days to go to a Clavic.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be lots of boats there, scows and schooners along the bank, eh?
Going like this through the river.
They're all against the bank, eh?
Yeah.
And they got gangplank, go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of business was going on, work.
Yeah.
And sometimes I remember Fred Carpenter. I was a kid, and we were going to go to Tuck, and my dad, and a lot of schoolers were going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me if I want to go to Toronto with him. He kind of liked my company.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid, He always
Yeah.
teased me and all that. So I said okay. My dad said he gave him permission to. So I went. So we were traveling, and the North Star was fully loaded,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no buoys like they have nowadays,
Yeah, to show you the channel.
You have to use your knowledge. But I remember we were traveling close to Barcy, Tunnganarniq, and it was real calm weather.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up on the pilot house, and Fred was steering the schooner. And, there's a shallow spot. We got grounded anyway.
Yeah.
We got grounded there in mud.
Oh.
And I tell you, we were there, stranded for 3 days. 3 days, and trying everything that they can. And there's no radios to call for help if you need.
Yeah.
So 3 days we were there, and they were even throwing drums out on the river to try to lift the boat, I guess.
Oh.
And using the anchor to try winch here, but that was a real, bad.
Mm-hmm.
Unlucky to do that, but.
Yeah.
But that happened.
You guys were okay, though.
Yeah, everybody was okay though. The only thing, we had no radio.
Just
but
a big headache.
after the third day, getting late, in the third day, we started seeing a schooner coming from the Toronto side.
Mm-hmm.
It was the RCMP smaller schooner, not as big as North Star, but it's a nice, strong boat. Yeah, so it came. I guess they were. We were overdue anyway. We would get there in about 1.5 days, and we were gone 3 days, so overdue.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the North Star free on deep water.
Yeah.
That was one time.
You guys were lucky that they. Is that typical? Like, if someone were to get stuck, people will go look for them?
Yeah, they really, the people who own schooners, they really help each other, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And if a schooner had engine trouble, and they travel together along the ocean, and I remember my dad's schooner Fox towed North Star 2 different times to Tuck, to
Yeah.
because it had engine trouble, and on another time in 1947, 46, 47, we wintered in Cape Dalhousie, not too far from Tunnganarniq.
Mm-hmm.
And come springtime and summer and the ice was going out, there was the Roman Catholic mission schooner,
Mm-hmm.
the Lady of Lords.
The one that's still there today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was stopped when we seen it. It just didn't move.
Yeah.
And two of the priests, they came over with their rowboat, their jolly boat, and they said they need help. So we pushed our boat down into the water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, in a bay in
Yeah.
Cape Dalhousie. Loaded up and went down, and I remember we tied beside each other. It was nice weather, no wind.
Mm-hmm.
There was quite a bit of ice floes. As it was probably early July or June,
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And after sometime that same day, we headed to Tunnganarniq.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how long it took us, but we were real slow. Eh?
So this was in the river?
It's along the coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not far from Bailey Island.
Oh, okay.
There's a place, Long Point,
Yeah.
called Cape Dalhousie in English.
Yeah.
But in the way I looked in, it's called Nubuk.
New book? Because I can't see that Lady of Lords. I can't see her going in the river. That big boat.
It traveled to the
Really?
river too, yeah.
Oh, that's a really big boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whaling
Most,
boats, were they bigger than that?
The whaling boats?
Yeah.
The whaling ships?
Mhm.
Yeah, they're mainly for the ocean, huh?
Oh, they must have been
Yeah,
really
yeah,
big then,
yeah.
because that's a big boat.
Like the Hudson Bay ship, Water never did go to a cloud because
Mhm.
it just can't make it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when they pulled that boat onto land and docked it
Oh,
outside
which
the
one?
church? The Lady of...
Oh no, I was not in Tunnganarniq that time. I think
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's when they did that in probably in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's got a nice spot there.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's a nice big boat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those Hudson Bay ships, they port in Tuck. You
Mhm.
know, wait for supplies, barges from up the river.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we wait. There's no telephone, so you can't tell where
Yeah.
where the barges are coming.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, everybody looks towards the river, you know, in Tuck.
Mhm.
Every day.
Every
right?
day.
I never forget that when you see that barge coming, you could see it's not a very big one.
Yeah.
All wooden built
Mm-hmm.
tugboat
Yeah.
with at least one barge,
Oh, okay.
all wood too.
That sounds like people who live in Sax Harbor and Ulu, and when they wait for the barge
Yeah.
to go and bring their supplies,
Yeah.
everyone just gets excited when it pulls up.
It's a real big event for
Mm-hmm. Back then, it must have been even more
even
exciting.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one usually come to Tuck. It was called Pelican Rapids.
Okay.
That was the name of that tugboat,
Mm-hmm.
and it towed that.
Pelican.
The barges. And
Pelican.
usually they come with a live cow too,
Oh.
you know, from down south,
Yeah.
and then it's the meat for the Hudson Bay ships that are going east.
A live cow. So
Yeah,
cows
yeah.
came up too.
That they have to kill it and cut
Yeah.
They used to take it to the point.
Yeah.
Right there. And
People
that's-
must have been excited
and
to
I
see
used
a
to watch- I
cow.
used to watch them when they try to kill it. And
Yeah.
just to-
Mm-hmm. It must have been exciting for kids to see a cow, though.
Yeah, we used to go on that barge and
Mhm.
try to feed it grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a funny story. I didn't see it happen, but the old timers tell me that one time one of the cows, when they brought it to the point, it got loose and started running away towards the land there.
Can I head back to
Got all the dogs excited and I don't know how they managed to. They got it anyway.
Yeah, that sounds funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and the barges there, they of course they brought fresh food and all supplies for the Hudson's Bay store there.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we loaded up the Fort Hearn and to go east to supply their Hudson Bay trading post.
Yeah.
In the east.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the way it worked. Yeah.
Did you go far east or just as far as Uluwatu?
I never went as far as Ulu myself.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was still too young to go on the Fort Hearn.
Mm-hmm.
But me and Bobby Grubin, we used to work with the men loading up the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Hard work, but didn't mind.
Yeah. When I did my second ever episode with Lillian Elias, I tried to ask her, how did people make caribou soup long ago, and she said rice and macaroni. If you're lucky, you got an onion. And I was trying to ask before there was rice up here, but that's what she said. But they would have got that from all the supplies brought up.
I remember it long ago. I mean, it was broth.
It was just
broth, eh?
Yeah.
You
It had all
drink
the
that
nutrients you needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What else about? And there were schooners. The Hudson Bay used to hire some schooners.
Mm-hmm.
When the Fort Hearn is not available for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
they would hire my dad's schooner or other schooners, load them up and go to Holman. There's a Hudson Bay trading post there.
Yeah.
And to Coppermine, I suppose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how some of them made their money in the summertime too.
Yeah.
Doing business for Hudson Bay.
Mm-hmm. Have you been to Coppermine?
Yeah, a few times I've been
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's way more east up.
Yeah, it's furthest west
Oh, okay.
from Nunavut. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Nunavut starts from around there.
What's it called now? Kogloktok, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Place of running water, falls.
Oh, that's what it's. It's all rock.
Yeah, river, Coppermine River comes
okay.
down.
Okay.
And the community's right by the mouth of the river.
Because I know Ulu is a lot of rock.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Ulu.
yeah.
Going from Tuk to Ulu, my eyes were just big looking at the landscape.
Amazing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to share about the schooners?
Well, I don't know. Not just I think I just kind of give a summary of how it was like, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the people made real good use out of them, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember in Tuk growing up, they had a big boat on the point.
Yeah.
There's a big, I'm pretty sure it was green. We used to play in it when we go to the point and they check fish nets and stuff. We used to play in that great big boat, all of us kids, and it was just left there. And one day it was just gone. And I asked my dad what happened, and they said they had to take it down because it was too dangerous. Like the wood was coming apart.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that just stayed there for like my whole childhood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one mention about there's one schooner that's still in use, and
Mhm.
it's down in Victoria, BC, the
Mhm.
North Star.
The North Star.
Yeah.
I always wondered because that was Fred's at one point.
Yeah.
It was Fred's one, and that's the only schooner. It is still being used in Victoria. Did it get sold and someone preserved it? Like,
That's the way it worked out, yeah.
oh, okay.
Most of the schooners that we talked about, they all, most of them, I think, they just got left on the beach and,
Mhm.
not cared for.
Mhm.
So they all disappeared like that,
Mhm.
So they just deteriorated,
Now when I think back, there are some boats in Sax Harbors. I mean, in Tuck still.
Yeah. My dad's boat, the Fox, is still standing in Sax Harbor.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Where is the boat?
It's right, where the school is?
Yeah.
In Sax Harbor, right just below the school.
I'm gonna have to look back at that. Maybe find some pictures.
Yeah, there's quite a few pictures about the school.
Yeah. Mhm. Because like I lived there for a few years, but just even thinking back now, there are quite a few boats still in Tuck that are just behind people's houses.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, North Star was sold to a fellow by the name of Sven Johansson.
Okay.
Yeah. And and then he brought it over here, changed the engine from heavy duty, took the heavy duty engine off and put a diesel engine in.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, yeah, he looked after it, worked with it, and with the oil companies here, and they must have made a lot of money with it.
Probably.
And eventually took it down to
Victoria,
BC, and it's still floating there, and it's had 2 or 3 owners so far.
I think
2
so,
for
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I know that it's something that if people from here or anywhere want to go and check it out, that you can go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that people can go and see it.
But the North Star has really changed the way it looked.
Mhm.
I have real good color photos of North Star. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Schooner.
Mhm. I'll have to take a look at that.
Now it's.
The photo.
I mean, it's got how many more masts plus countless amount of sails. It doesn't look like North Star.
I was gonna say, a few years ago, because my fiance Greg, Fred was his great grandfather. A few years ago, his sister for Christmas got a bunch of wooden stars, and they were painted, I think, red, and they say North Star on them. And they're Christmas ornaments. You put them on a tree. Those came from one of the wooden pieces that was replaced. So it's the original wood replaced. They had to put new wood on it. And then those old chunks of wood, must be about that thick.
Yeah.
They cut them and turned them into stars. And some people
out of those wood.
Yeah, it was called the North Star. And we didn't get an ornament, but some of the older relatives that were Fred's grandchildren got those as Christmas presents. Yeah. It's like, hopefully one day I'll inherit one of those, those ornaments.
Yeah, I remember I traveled with Andy Carpenter when he was still with us. We went down to Victoria, BC for meetings, and this was quite a long time ago, and Sven Johansson still owned it, and he invited Andy and me to go see the North Star.
That must have been like 15 or 20 years ago?
More than that.
More than 20?
More than that.
Okay.
Andy said, no, it don't look like North Star anymore.
No. Looks modern now.
So anyway.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful schooner.
It's very famous.
Yeah.
Well, consider we could still talk about it today because it's
All the
still around.
schooners were, they had their own beauty.
Yeah.
The owners like to, before they launched them in the water,
Mhm.
every summer,
Mhm.
they paint them real
Paint them.
nice colors, you know,
Mhm.
red bottom, white side, green or red trim on top,
Yeah.
varnish.
Mhm.
They look so smart.
And then they named them. Did they name them themselves, or they came with names?
So, I think some of them already had names, but I think some of them had to be renamed by
Mhm.
some people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember lots of names. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you travel when you traveled? Do you remember how long it would take to get to Banks Island?
From Bailey Island, where we usually anchor there to wait for good weather.
Mhm.
Depending on the weather,
Mhm.
you know, it take 15, 17 hours, sometimes
That's
longer.
not very long.
When
15.
the weather is calm, like, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking it would take a couple days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's really something when the weather is calm, no wind, it's just glassy water, we call it.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of seals all over.
All
popping
over.
their heads, and you're traveling.
You seen Nanook? Polar bears?
Sometimes when there's ice,
Yeah.
flows, then you see polar bears.
Mhm. Is it in the spring or the fall when all the seals group together? Fall. Closer to fall.
Well, even I think they group together pretty well all year.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I've seen them when we travel, going to Sachs Harbor
Mhm.
in calm weather.
Mhm.
They're all over.
All over the
Just
place.
looking at you.
They're really curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
gone boating in Sachs Harbor and seals just come closer and closer.
Springtime too, the seals, they when the ice is still there, they come up by cracks or they make a big hole, you know,
Mhm.
a glue or
Yeah.
breathing holes. And then a whole bunch of seals, it could be maybe 40, 50 seals,
Mhm.
maybe more sometimes you see them.
Just seals
They're
everywhere.
basking in the sun, yeah.
Kids just getting excited.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So lots of interesting scenery down.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you guys see whales too?
Not very often.
Not often?
very often.
The belugas mostly stay around
Yeah.
Hendrickson.
And when there's ice flows, you see lots of seals, and the bearded seals like to climb
Mhm.
on top the.
The big fat
Yeah.
bearded seals.
And they like to stay in groups, 3,
Mhm.
maybe 4, maybe 5.
Those are really big.
Yeah.
You ever see walruses?
No.
No?
I never see a walrus myself.
Oh, okay. I know there was one in Sachs Harbor once.
Yeah, they did get
Yeah.
one now and then.
Mhm.
Even in Holman, they get one once in a great while, but very rare.
I can't imagine how exciting that must be to
Yeah.
see a walrus. Mhm. So there's lots of always something to do, always helping each other.
Yeah, you're busy
Mhm.
all year round. Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
like lots of excitement.
Yeah.
Always something sounds exciting.
It's so something special when you come in after almost 12 months on Banks Island. You come to Toronto.
Mhm.
You never talk to your parents, to your people. There's no
Mhm.
radio, nothing. And then you go to the harbor,
Mhm.
and then you hear the schooner or something like that. And on top of the pilot house, there's a horn,
Yeah.
so it makes a nice sound.
Yeah. That's probably like my memory of growing up and going camping in Husky Lakes and hearing people talking on the trapper radio.
Yeah.
Because no one really does that anymore. But growing up, you just heard the trapper radio going all the time. And I remember really being excited and listening
Yeah.
to people having conversations.
Those schooners, they had no radio, like I said, but they
Big
like the owners would have their own radio, you know, the radios that listen to broadcasts in Clavic or even Alaska, and as far as the southern states.
Yeah. Could listen to commercials.
And the batteries were about this big. They last all year.
Last for a long time. Yeah. My grandparents had a really big old black metal radio. Went with us everywhere, turning the knobs to get the signal.
And later on in years, the Sax Harbor started growing, so, and then the RCMP came, and DOT, Department of Transportation, they built a station there. So, and then we started, you know, they had radio contact with a Clavic and different places. Yeah, we used to send telegraphs. Just a few words.
Yeah. That was really, it's amazing to think how much our people evolved in 100 years.
Yeah, they adjusted to what came along, you know. It was not easy sometimes.
Yeah.
But in the way we are. All Native people,
resilient,
and the First Nations down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, it was hard times. And, you know, flu epidemic sometimes hit us, and those were scary.
It sounds like our people always made the best of what they had, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like hearing stories of kids when they talk about being so happy out on the land and helping, and just always, it just sounds like our people were always busy and always taking care of each other.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, sometimes when we don't go to Banks Island, we would winter in Gugaluk or Anderson River. And different other places along the coast.
Yeah. Did they do lots of fishing off the schooners too?
Yeah. Well, when we go to like Stanton, like in the mouth of Anderson River, good, and Gugaluk is good fishing country too. There's the rivers and stuff. Lots of coney and herring, lots.
I was gonna say, you ever see really big fish?
Just the coney, in Stanton, they're huge.
Yeah, like really big.
Yeah. 40, 50 pounds or something.
Hear people get excited for 18 pounds.
Yeah, those conies can grow really big.
And those big, I think they're really big lakes, huh?
Inland lakes, there's a lot of it in the mainland, so.
Yeah, I remember hearing some stories of fish being really, really big.
And then there's the Husky Lakes, Imarayuk. Imarayuk. Yeah. It's connected with the ocean, huh?
Yeah. That's how whales get in it.
Yeah. Seals and.
Yeah. We got about 5 more minutes.
Oh yeah. Maybe you have questions.
I'm already like, I feel like I'm learning so much. Like, just because these are not conversations you typically have. About the schooners anyways, and what life was like back then.
And each schooner, you know, has a story to it. You know, each schooner has many. You could tell a lot more stories, about their experience with the schooners. and it's too bad that this was not happened. It didn't happen with interview the owners of what they did all their while they owned them.
Well, I remember hearing something like people get really excited when they see not movies but home videos of in the 70s and 80s, because back then people didn't have it, so when you saw it, it was exciting. But that would probably play into like how it is now. There's not many stories on tape because they didn't have like cameras to film and stuff like that. That's why we gotta come to people like you to ask you questions on what you know.
It's really good to have questions.
Yeah.
And there are just a handful of people who, my age anyway, that
that remember.
Now here, still here, you know, into 2 years maybe.
How did they cook on them? How did they cook? They just dock it and go off the shore?
The schooners had a small stove. Usually it's in the front, they call forecastle. It's not a kitchen, it's a forecastle.
Okay.
It got a little heavy duty cook stove with a small oven, and
you just put fire in it?
Coal,
coal. Okay.
Coal that we buy from a clavik.
Yeah.
And driftwood, of course.
And that's how people cooked when they're traveling.
Yeah. North Star had one. My dad's boat had one. And most of those schooners had that equipment. They just had the instruments only were compass and barometer. And then they had what you call a depth sounder.
Oh.
It's not computerized.
Yeah.
It was a long rope.
Yeah.
With a fathom marks on them. A fathom. 1 fathom is 6 feet.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little ribbon tied to each 6 foot. We call them fathoms.
Yeah.
And there's a lead weight at the other
down.
end. So a person stands beside the schooner and toss it way ahead and then hit the bottom. So that's how we find the sounder.
Yeah.
Sounder,
So you could not get into a sand spit or... Crafty.
Yeah. And people really know the shoals, so they don't get into trouble. And you have to be really careful when to go and when not to go. Weather.
Yeah. Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a simple life, but lots of hard work.
Yeah.
Very rewarding when you all get to work together. Do you guys play lots of card games?
I suppose so. When we're in the harbors, sometimes we have to wait in the harbor for sometimes days, for the wind to go down, and play cards and tell stories and listen to those radios.
Yeah.
I remember my dad and them used to listen to sports and world news. World news and the sports.
It was probably CBC radio.
No, it was.
No,
it was Del Rio, Texas, way down in Texas. That used to come in, and the Alaska stations used to come in loud and clear too.
Yeah.
They had radio broadcasting.
That's really cool. Those are some strong radio waves.
And I remember hearing Radio Moscow sometime. There was a Radio Moscow.
What?
Yeah. I don't know what kind of information came out of it, but I used to hear it.
Probably couldn't understand it.
That's right, I remember when you're wintering on Banks Island, you have your home radio on, and it's really something to listen to Alaska stations just clear at night,
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
People just doing news reports?
Yeah, news and music and country music, all kinds of music.
This would have been in the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, 40s.
40s, 50s,
40s
60s.
and early 50s. And then schooner started to phase out, I would say about early 50s to mid 50s.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you saw a plane?
Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been exciting.
Ran to the tent and I was scared, you know.
Something in the air.
Flying so low and loud.
Probably a twin otter.
No, not the twin otter.
Smaller?
They were single engine planes.
Oh, okay.
Days, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some were small, some were quite big. Yeah.
Must have been scary and then exciting.
And the other kind of bigger boats that I started seeing when I was a kid was a twin engine, they call it a flying boat.
Oh, okay.
Because it could land in the water, right?
Yeah.
It land in the water and float, yeah.
That's cool.
Flying boat. That's when I first seen one in Anderson River.
Yeah.
Springtime. And we were hunting geese and picking eggs, my dad and them. And this plane come real low.
Yeah.
Loud. It was that kind of plane, but it couldn't land because it was ice out, there's still no water.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't want us to pick eggs and hunt geese.
Yeah. So it was like short, I guess for you, short, like 15, 20 years, and then it just phased out.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty well. All the schooners and even the whaleboats, other crafts start to take over. You know, snow machines start to take over.
I was gonna say they
dock
probably had
cubes and-
snowmobiles.
Yeah. And we have to adjust to them.
Just change really quick and
lots of laughs about those stories about skidoos. You know.
That'll have to be another episode. Yeah. So I wanted to thank you though for coming on, and it was unexpected surely not being here, but that's okay because I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure
Yeah.
being here and, you know, trying to share a little what I know. Huh?
Yeah. Well, that's my goal with the show is to preserve as many stories as we can.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, just hope that the younger generation have more interest in and ask questions to the elders and learn more about the history of our fathers and grandparents.
Our people has always been known to hearing the term storytelling. I think it's important that more people take an interest on learning these stories from long ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories, you know, a lot of good humor stories too, you know, it could be shared. They're disappearing now.
I liked how you said you have a lot of faith in us in such short notice, unprepared for the show. And I was like, elders always have lots of stories to share.
Once you get it started, you know. Especially if Sandy Wilkie was there.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just wanted I'll end the show now. So thank you all for joining in on the Tunnganarniq Show with Albert and hearing stories about the schooners. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Okay.